Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Sunday, August 24th, 2025. And for some reason, Neil's in a bit of a hurry today. There's a few dogs up further. I'm not sure whether he can get their scent or whatever, but he's got an unusual little burst today that he doesn't normally have. Around this stage of the walk, he's normally a bit laxy-daisy, let's say. He winds down a little bit, but it's got a little extra spring in the step today. As I said, it could be those dogs just up a little bit further. Good night of fights last night. I didn't see all the fights, only the main two on the card. The Jake Wiley and Sky Nicholson fights. I was working at the pub, so sort of in between, but I made sure I watched both of those fights. But yeah, really good night. Looked like there was a really good crowd in attendance. The atmosphere looked really good as well. And look, probably unlike last Wednesday, in some ways, the fights delivered, especially the main event. But it was all about, obviously, Jake Wiley and Yousef Dib, but also they sort of dubbed it the homecoming for Sky Nicholson. But, I mean, not her last fight, the one before that was actually earlier in the year on the George Kambosos undercard, so whatever. But, yeah, as I said, it looked like a really good production on TV. Yeah, enjoyed it. Look, I'm sure the Sky Nicholson fight probably divided a few, but I'll get to all that anyway. Let's just start with on this day. We'll get that out the road and we'll talk about both of those fights. All right, where are we? On this day, let's go back to 1966. Just quickly, we've got American Curtis Cokes won the world welterweight title by defeating Manuel Gonzalez on points. 92, Mexico's Miguel Angel Gonzalez beat Wilfredo Rocha in the 10th round for the world lightweight title. 2002, Oscar Larios won the interim super bantamweight title by knocking out Manabu Fukushima in the 8th round in Tokyo. We'll keep going there. 2013, Johnny Gonzalez knocked out Abner Mares in the 1st round in Carson, California to defend the world featherweight title. In 2013 also must have been that same show, as I've got magpies flying past. It's probably almost Maggie season, so I'm sure I'll get swooped at some stage. But we had Leo Santa Cruz defended his super bantamweight title by defeating Victor Terrazes on points. Just keep a look out here, these little bastards and things. 2019, Mexico's Juan Francisco Estrada defended his world super flyweight title with a knockout of American Dwayne Beeman in, Hermosillo, Sonora, wherever that is. So that's what happened on this day. So last night, let's start with the co-main. Now, I know the easiest thing to do here is to join the pylon of Sky Nicholson and the opponent and how bad she was. Look, I'm not going to do that in this episode. I, for one, wasn't that dismayed by the opponent. While I'll backtrack a little bit on that. The opponent she had was Singh. Shouldn't be nowhere near a ring that contained Sky Nicholson. She had an okay record going into the fight, but I think if you look at the box rec, they were all against similar, what would you call them, C, D grade fight? I don't know. I hope to sort of rank or grade fighters like that, but similar abilities to her. So she went in. I actually thought she looked okay in the 1st round, Singh. I thought she actually handled herself okay. But Sky Nicholson, I was actually impressed. I was impressed by as average, let's say, as the opponent was. As I said, I'm not going to join on that pile, and I'll let you guys do that. But it wasn't the opponent I was sort of looking at. She was semi-capable. But I was really impressed, I've got to say, with Sky Nicholson, who did what she had to do. She got her out of there in 2 rounds, but it was the way she went about it. It wasn't just the usual opponent just quitting and everything else. It was Sky Nicholson actually set her up. I think it was a good little body shot she got her with. But I was impressed by the way Sky Nicholson, she looks like at this weight that she's really making an attempt to be a little bit more fan friendly, a little bit more entertaining, really starting to sit down on her punches. And again, I know the opposition wasn't great, but all that aside, you could see that she's made definite decisions in her preparation and the way she fights now to actually come forward, be the aggressor, stand her ground, and more importantly, dig in with her punches. And look, I think she was definitely trying to punch harder. Usually when Sky Nicholson fights, in all the previous fights, they got her beat by Tiara Brown. This whole amateur style of just move and run and pity pat and step off to the side. It was just so easy to read Sky. It was just stand at a distance, jab, jab, throw the left hand, maybe a check right hook and spin off to her right, and her opponents would just follow her around. And she got away with that for how many fights until she ran into an actual fighter in Tiara Brown who totally negated all that and got away with it by fighting like a professional. Stand the ground, dig in with the punches. It's all about quality punches rather than just pity-pat little quantity punches that works in the amateurs. And I think she's got a bit of a wake-up call from that. And I give her credit. And her trainers for saying, well, we've got to change a few things. And maybe the fact we're coming down to 122, we can actually do that a bit more now, or we should be the bigger girl. She did look big against Singh last night. But, yeah, I like the way she's made a conscious effort to change her style and get a little bit more with it as far as the pros goes. As I said, coming forward, standing her ground. Again, I know the opponent sort of let her do everything that she wanted to do, and that's great. But this is why you probably choose those type of opponents to actually practice this sort of stuff. And I thought the way she came forward, really snapping out the jab rather than just poking it out and, as I said before, like a little pity-pat and spin-off. She was really standing her ground, spearing out the jab, throwing the left hand with purpose, and actually going at Singh. Now, the big question mark, I suppose, is what happens when she does that against an actual elite 122-pound fighter, not some poor Indian girl that's been brought in to make her look good. So that's the big test. But for me, the signs are good. The signs are good that she's made the first step and her team have made the first steps of actually recognising where she's falling down and where she needs to change her style and what she needs to do if she's going to be successful going forward in the 122-pound division. And there's some good fights there, some really good fights for her there. I would love to see her in there with someone like an Alice Scottney, who I'm really impressed with. But as I said, really good first steps last night in just being a little bit more competitive at that weight, and a bit more effective. We all know that she's a really, really good fighter. We know that, but to actually see her make conscious decisions to change and become the elite fighter that she is, I think was really good. So that was Sky Nicholson. She did say she wanted the rematch with Tiara Brown. I'm not so sure that's a good idea at this stage. I think she needs probably a few more fights. And why go back to 126 if you don't need to? Good morning. How you doing? So I don't see the sense in going to 126 if you make 122 pounds comfortably. Why go back up and fight a really strong girl or lady, woman, whatever you might want to call her, who bullied her and really bashed her around last time? That was a close fight too, by the way. But I just don't see the sense in going back up if you don't need to. Tiara Brown, she's probably going to struggle to get fights. I think she's going to be hard to beat at 126. But Sky at 122, I think she's got some really good fights there. And as I said, Alice Scottney is the one for me that I think would be a ripper. Who knows? We could get even maybe Shanika Johnson moves up and they fight. I doubt it. They've been sort of lifelong friends through the amateurs and everything else. But geez, if you talk about all Aussie sort of super fights, that would be the one, wouldn't it? And women in this country have never really been paid well or sort of given the kudos, I suppose, that a lot of fighters get overseas, particularly in the US and England. So you never know, that could be a money fight. So we'll see. But I was impressed by Sky Nicholson. All things considered with the opponent, I thought she was her whole attitude and style and everything was changed, and I think it was for the better. But anyway, we'll move on. Jake Wiley and Yousef Dib, good fight. I thought like from start to finish, it was a really good fight, a really entertaining fight. But the thing with the fight I found was that pretty much every round was the same as the last. It was just a repeat. And at one stage I had to go do something. It was sort of mid-rounds. I came back and it didn't look like anything had changed because they were fighting the same. The pace did not go out of the fight for 10 rounds. The only thing that sort of changed a little bit late in the fight is when Jake Wiley sort of got on his bike a little bit and Yousef Dib took his turn to go after Jake Wiley. But I thought just a really classy fight. I was surprised by Yousef Dib. I thought after the second Liam Wilson fight, I thought he was shot. I thought he was done. He looked really, well, actually after the first Liam Wilson fight, when he actually got knocked out, I thought, yeah, I'm not sure we'll see much of Yousef Dib anymore. And he came back and actually put in a really solid performance against Liam. But I must admit, as I said, I thought he was maybe a little bit washed and had seen his better days. And Jake Wiley, a good, young, up-and-coming fighter, trained well. I thought that, yeah, it would be sort of one-way traffic. But even though the scorecards were, well, we'll call it one-sided, I was really impressed with what Yousef Dib brought to the table. I thought he boxed really well, picked his shots. The problem I saw with Yousef Dib, and I'm not sure what his thoughts about the decision was after the fight, but for me, it reminded me a little bit of the Sam Goodman and Nick Ball fight. It had one fighter in Nick Ball, in this case Jake Wiley, who was sort of eye-catching, putting the pressure on, had the punches that were really sort of attention-grabbing. And then you had Yousef Dib, just like Sam Goodman, who boxed beautifully, did everything right, did everything he should have done, but just didn't have anything to really catch the eye and make you go wow and maybe sway a few rounds his way. That's what it reminded me of, because I thought he fought a good fight, but it's just not well enough to just win any of those rounds. And I mean, every round was competitive. He gave as good as he got on a lot of occasions, but in my opinion, just didn't do enough when the rounds were close to go, yeah, I'm going to give that to Yousef Dib. And I think that's what happened with Sam Goodman and Nick Ball. Just not enough attention-grabbing moments where you got Jake Wiley, who, like Nick Ball, was stalking him down, throwing some big punches, and sometimes they don't even have to land. I just have to get the judge's attention and give them a reason to give them the round. That's what it reminded me of last night. And just like Sam Goodman, I thought Yousef Dib fought a really, really good fight, but just not enough to get the decision. But Jake Wiley, very impressed with Jake. Now, look, he's got a long way to go. Make no mistake about it. He's only a young guy, but already he's had the fight with George Kambosos. And even though that was a clear-cut points win to George, that was a real sign that he can mix it with world-class fighters. And whether to say he'll get there or not, I don't know. But I really like the way he really hunted down Yousef Dib. I really liked his pace. I liked his volume of punches. Could maybe work a little bit more on his defence, but that'll come as he gets rounds in. I'm not quite sure how old he is. I'm pretty sure he's just in his, is he early 20s? He's not that old. So he's got plenty of time. Because I'll tell you what, I would love it if Liam Wilson actually decided to step up to 140 for a fight, or maybe they can fight for a catch weight or something. I know it probably won't happen because Liam's on the verge of world title fights and all the rest of it, but that would be a really good fight, Liam Wilson and Jake Wiley. But yeah, as I said, I was really impressed with his technique, the kit of punches, his footwork, just everything about him. He's just a really well-rounded young fighter, is Jake Wiley, and whether that's enough to get him to the world stage and get him amongst it, I don't know. I mean, they'll slowly match him up. It's great news that he's with Matchroom Boxing, of course, so he'll get his opportunities. Eddie's sort of known for testing his fighters and seeing whether they've got it or not. And I suppose when you've got such a big stable of fighters, you haven't got a lot of time to muck around. And that's actually the word of why Liam Paro went to No Limit as well, as that Eddie was in a little bit too much of a rush just to throw him straight back in there, and they wanted to sort of bring him back and just sort of build his brand a little bit here in Australia and maybe get him some opportunities for the right fights at the right time rather than just rush him in. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do that with Jake Wiley, but I think it won't be long before they'll test him. They'll say, all right, well, let's see what you got, and they'll put him on an undercard or something in the States or in England, and he's going to have to show what he's got. It'll be sink or swim. But what I really like about him is his attitude of, yeah, that's okay. I've got no doubt if they said, well, next fight you're going to go over and you know, fight a Ryan Garcia or a Teofimo Lopez or whatever it might be, you'd say, yeah, okay, no drama. That's the type of guy. Not to say he's anywhere near ready that, but you get what I'm saying. Just impressed with his whole outlook, his whole attitude, and the kid can fight. He really can. And he's going to get his opportunities to step up and show us what he's got. But yeah, but a good night of fights again. I really liked the whole atmosphere coming through the screen. I thought it was a really good night out looked like it was a good night out for there for everyone. And I hope it was a success for everyone concerned. And Eddie Hearn decides to do more shows in Australia on a regular basis, because along with, well, I know he is sort of hooked up with Tasman fighters as well, but in conjunction with Tasman maybe doing their own thing. Obviously you got No Limit doing the thing, Ace Boxing doing their thing as well, and a few others. Really looking good for Aussie boxing at the moment, and there's multiple platforms now. I think is it Wanderer Promotions are doing some good things as well. I mean, they're only a very, very new company, but along with Wildfighter in Melbourne as well, there's some really good promoters out there who are doing good things. I know we all talk about just what No Limit's doing, but the promotional companies underneath them are just giving us something to think about and really giving us good content with not a lot of support in return, some of these promoters, as far as money and TV and all that sort of stuff. So I take my hat off to them, having been there myself. I know how hard it is, and let's hope that they all stay with it, hang in there, and keep producing quality content and really giving Aussie boxers an opportunity on all sorts of levels. So yeah, good night all around there. All right, well, on the international scene, there's not a hell of a lot going on. I did see that Floyd Mayweather's in the wars again. This time he's got Lamont Roach coming at him, who wants to fight Floyd Mayweather. I think Floyd Mayweather said that he wanted his young charge, Kamel Moten, who's I think he's only 19 or 20 or something like that. He wanted him to fight Lamont Roach, and he said, yeah, well, when the time's right, but how about I'll fight you instead? So, and then he's had Roy Jones continue at him, unfairly too, if I've got to say. I think I would just hope that Roy Jones would just let it lie. He continues to have a bit of a smack at, or a bit of a swing at Floyd Mayweather. Look, I love both fighters, but I just think this is an argument as far as how resumes goes. I'm not sure whether Roy Jones can sort of win the resume war, because even though I thought they were, I think they're obviously fantastic fighters and all-time greats, and come here, buddy, and everything else. I just don't like the fact that Roy Jones Jr. is now coming down and having a go at his resume. It's okay to say, well, I was a better fighter and everything else, but yeah, to have a go at Floyd Mayweather's resume, I just don't think it's on. I think his resume speaks for itself, and will be very, very hard to beat by any fighter out there, even including Roy Jones. But again, that's subject to everyone's opinion. I'm sure you've all got one out there. I did see also, what else was happening? I did write a couple of things down there. Shakur Stevenson, speaking of Lamont Roach, he did, come here, man. Shakur Stevenson, yeah, has said that now that Gervonta Tank Davis is fighting Jake Paul, of course, they were supposed to fight a rematch, Roach and Davis, that Shakur Stevenson is willing to fight Lamont Roach, which would be a fantastic fight, really would. That's for his WBC belt. The only thing that might stand in its way is if Teofimo Lopez accepts Shakur Stevenson's challenge. So Shakur said, look, I want to fight Teofimo Lopez at 140. But if I can't get that fight, I'm more than happy to fight Lamont Roach. And I really like this attitude from Shakur Stevenson. For me, in my eyes, the way I look at Shakur Stevenson has completely changed. Being live there for the Williams-Zepeda fight. Before that fight, I was probably one of the ones who went, oh, I can't stand watching this guy. First of all, I don't probably like his attitude, but I think even that sort of changed a bit. But I was thinking, oh, how do people sit through this guy's fights? Fair income. But to watch him live against Williams-Zepeda with the way he stood his ground and outworked Williams-Zepeda, who is just an absolute workhorse. I was so impressed with his grit. He's just his style, just everything about him. He's a very, very good fighter, Shakur Stevenson. And as I said, I'm now a fan of his, just seeing him live and seeing the way he goes about it. He's a very, very, very good fighter. And he's in my top 10 pound for pound now. But, geez, him and Lopez, geez, that would be a brilliant fight, wouldn't it? I'd probably still pick Shakur Stevenson. I think it's going to take a really special fighter to beat him. I would have thought Tank Davis would have been the guy. I would love to see that fight. And I think Gervonta Davis is probably the only one that could probably beat Shakur Stevenson around that weight, just in my opinion. But what's going to happen with Tank Davis now? And actually, having said that, what happens with his WBA belt now? I mean, he hasn't defended it since fighting Lamont Roach earlier in the year. He's going to fight Jake Paul at the end of the year, so it's probably going to be this time next year before he wants to fight again for real. So what happens with his WBA belt? Does he keep the belt? Do they strip him of the belt? Does Lamont Roach get the fight for the vacant belt? Does he fight Shakur Stevenson and it's for both belts? Who knows? I mean, we're talking about the WBA here, aren't we? So who knows? There's a couple of other Maggies up there eyeing me off. Just stay your distance, you little pricks. I think I'll just get in behind this tree. I hate magpies. Magpies in general and the footy team. So yeah, plenty of what ifs there. But the good thing is that at least they're all talking about these fights. The only big, I suppose, question mark for everyone is what is someone like a Ryan Garcia going to do? He's so unpredictable. I suppose what is Tank Davis going to do? We know he's fighting Jake Paul, but apart from that, has shown no interest in really doing anything. So, and there has actually been words with this Jake Paul fight that could just be a cash out fight for him. That he has his fight, makes probably $20-30 million and just says, you know what, you can stick this sport. I hope not, because he's such a good fighter, is Tank Davis, but I just think he's going to go down as one of those fighters who we're going to have that massive what if. What could he have been? Didn't really have a legacy fight. Maybe you could say the Ryan Garcia fight, but apart from that, didn't have any big fights for us to even contemplate looking at him as one of the all-time greats. So yeah, it's not good. He could have, look, if he had fought someone like a Lomachenko, he's still got the opportunity to fight Shakur Stevenson, of course, but without those fights, I just don't know how history will rank Tank Davis. It's a shame. But as for Shakur Stevenson, I think a great chance to go down as one of the great lightweights, or not just lightweights, he started at featherweight, didn't he? But one of the great fighters, if given the opportunity. And the good thing is he's got guys like Teofimo Lopez there to test him, and maybe there's a Sabril Matias or one of those guys as well. Plenty of fighters there to test Shakur Stevenson. But yeah, I am a fan these days. Well, guys, I think that's going to do it for today. I don't think there's anything else. I had a couple other things there, but I'll save them for another time. Actually, it's about time I did the pound for pound list as well. I might do that tomorrow. Coming to the end of August. Yeah, what is it today? 24. So yeah, might be time. I haven't done it for a couple of months, so it might be time to update that. But I might do that tomorrow. But apart from that, guys, have an awesome Sunday, and we will catch you tomorrow.